Greetings. My name is John Gabriel, and this is the new Calculus channel. So today I'm going to give you a little demonstration of what it's like for anyone to be in my shoes, trying to educate the mainstream orangutans. In other words, mainstream mathematics professors. So no amount of reasoning or logic will convince these fools. So let's begin. Now, some time ago, I stated a new theorem, a historic geometric theorem, and of course there have been two attempts to bring it into disrepute. And the first one was by Professor Don Redmund, and he teaches at a university out of Chicago somewhere. I don't even remember. I don't care, frankly. In any case, so he made a bogus claim that my theorem was already known as something called the Lipschitz Convention. And I'm looking at the wrong file. Here's the right file. So that's the link at the top there. And of course, this is from a real analysis book written by Labar. Okay, some fool many decades ago. In any case, so he used the epsilonics inequality to observe a certain property that occurs when, for example, you consider two particular numbers, as you see here, f of x and f of xi. So he says, suppose we determine the number, this number here, so that this identity is true. Now, this identity can be reduced to my identity, but it's not at all in the same context as my theorem. And of course, what really gave them hope is that Labar mentioned that this here is simply the difference between the slope of the secant line and that of the tangent line. That is true, by the way, and that is also part of my theorem, but it's not at all in the same context as the bullshit you will see in this file by Labar and how he arrives at the Lipschitz condition. And this is really the condition. The whole thing about his condition is this definition here, okay, where it says let f be defined on an open interval, blah, 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 and then f satisfies the Lipschitz condition if this crap is true. Okay, in other words, geometrically, it's this distance of this finite difference quotient being less than a certain m. Totally unremarkable. Now consider my theorem, by the way. This is my theorem. My theorem states that if you take the secant line slope, this red secant line slope, okay, which I'm showing you here, I just want to move that out of the way, this slope here, then it's equal to the tangent line slope plus q of xh, which is the difference, okay? And by the way, I'd never read Labar's book before this, and thank goodness I didn't. Otherwise, I wouldn't have realized this particular theorem. So the identity simply states this, that the secant line slope is equal to the tangent line slope plus the difference. There's nothing complicated about that, okay? And it doesn't matter what h you have or what x you have, this identity remains true, and q of xh is constant. It doesn't change. You don't take limits or any of that other nonsense. And there's nothing inferred by this identity. Now, the tangent line slope is found geometrically from these similar triangles. f2 divided by h is one component of this secant line slope, and f1 over h is the difference. This f1 over h over this h is the difference. Okay, so that's really the breakdown of this historic geometric theorem, right? And of course, in their bogus calculus, what you will see time and again is this absolute rot here, where what you have is this, by the way, is something else, but I'm not going to talk about this because I don't have time and my voice is not in a very good condition. This diagram that you see here illustrates to you facts, okay, important facts about what mainstream reptiles, dishonest, intellectually vile, filthy academics, okay, this is what they do. They will try to show you that as soon as you move out of a certain range, then the epsilonics inequality fails. Okay, as you see, I move out here, I get false, right? And all of you know this theory. It's bullshit. It doesn't make calculus rigorous, and I'm not going to spend time on it. But if you like, these applets have already been uploaded, and I'll place links to them in the detail section. So what I want to focus on now is that in addition to this first attempt, there was a subsequent attempt. Now, some moron called Franz Fritzsche, who goes by the handle me, believe it or not, he calls himself capital M, small e on sci.math. This idiot here, okay, this guy who calls himself me. In any case, this fool attacked me again and brought up this link, this new link here, which is by a retired, no, I'm sorry, not this link, which is by a retired professor in mathematics. Now, this idiot interpreted the secant line slope as the tangent line slope plus some error function. Excuse me for laughing, because there is, first of all, he doesn't even define E of h. He just says it's a function E of h. But in all truth, this slope component is not only a function of h. It is a function of both x and h. It cannot only be a function of h. Maybe in a simple equation like x squared, it is only a function of h. But it's not an error term, by the way. Okay, by no means is it an error term. It is exactly the second component that I was showing you in it's the second component here, f1 over h, okay? So, at any rate, so this moron, Franz Fritzsche, brings us up, and of course, all the other, trolls on sci.math, like Jean-Pierre Massager, that incredible psychotic crank from France, and the Swiss idiot troll called Jan Bursa, and everybody else jumps in, trying to, pretend that I that I that I based my theorem somehow on this drivel that you see in front of you here. Okay, so now I have given a complete analysis of this in a LinkedIn article to show you that it's entirely nonsense. And in my LinkedIn article, if I go to LinkedIn, it will appear as the last article I wrote, and I explained to you why Professor Folland, the retired math professor's article, is drivel. Okay, so you will find it if you go to my article LinkedIn, and I'll place, excuse me, I'm not well. I'll place it to that article as well. But it's this particular one here. I think I can get to it if for some reason my PC can speed up a little bit. I have very old technology. All right, it's taking a bit of time because I got the screen recorder on, and I don't have very much memory. I should have once again called this up before, but article here. Okay, and you'll see it in a moment. So it's called How Stupid Are Mainstream Math Professors? And if you go to it, it will explain, and I'll place a link to this, it will explain why just about everything you read here is completely ridiculous and absurd. So at any rate, the type of people I've been fighting with are these idiots. And they're not only on sci.math, by the way. They're on that site Quora, they're on Math Stack Exchange, they're on every other conceivable math site you can think of. And when I correct them, their response is entirely one of libel or misrepresentation or drivel. And I've kind of reached the stage right now where I don't really care what they say, but I want you to know these things and not to be fooled when you walk into a classroom as a first-time student, okay? And you'll notice that most of these professors wouldn't last a week in the real world, okay? So what they do is they try to deceive students because that's all they know how to do. And they don't know any better. One student commented on one of my LinkedIn articles that his idiot professor, on the first day of his calculus course, wrote on 8 boards to try and explain, and everybody in the class did not have a clue of what differentiation was all about. But my new theorem solves both differentiation and integration, and it fixes the bogus mainstream formulation of calculus. I am the great John Gabriel, discoverer of the new calculus, the first and only rigorous formulation of calculus in history, and I hate mainstream academics with a passion because they're evil, they're dishonest, and to me, not speaking out in my defense is equivalent to being guilty. So you cannot sit on a fence if you're a math professor. You need to get off that fence and back me up. Otherwise, you are a moron and you're a reptile. And I have no time for you. And I will constantly ridicule you and expose your ignorance, your hatred, your vileness, your filthiness. Well, I know I've been on a bit of a rant, but you know, after a while, everybody attacking you in the mainstream somehow gets to you. I know nobody's going to nominate me for the Abel Prize in mathematics, even though I'm worth 10 Abel Prizes. I know it's never going to happen. But what I want you to know is that the truth is what I'm telling you and not what the thousands of moron math teachers and mathematics professors all over the world are driveling in their classes. Well, I'm totally out of breath and I'm losing my voice, so I don't know how much time I have left. And I don't mean that in the sense of this clock. I mean that in the other sense. So I'll go ahead and upload this video also to BitChute. I hope you're all well, those of you who are of the right mind, and that you're taking care in this really treacherous time of COVID-19. Well, be well, take care. I'm John Gabriel, and this is a new calculus channel. Till next time, goodbye.